Get back to work. I was 79 outside, but it's cool in here. Yeah. I always leave all the windows open and stuff, so it's literally cool. And so all winter, I usually typically wear one of my jackets. I always leave the windows open to circulate air, to acclimate to the environment. You know, if you try to put yourself in too pristine of an environment, you have trouble acclimating to what's happening outside. And we don't live in a plastic bubble. And so I do look forward to when you build up your immune system and the nature's the way that it is and you adapt to it and stuff like that. But rich people obviously put themselves in more ecological advantageous positions. They're very bad people. Okay? They're very selfish and it's an innate selfish fear that's part of their genetic makeup over tens of thousands of years. And so a lot of them, I think, want to be good, but they just obviously can't be good because I've been on YouTube and Facebook for since 2009. So, they're obviously inherently trapped in evil. Like Rosario Dawson's character on Percy Jackson and shit. So there's a you can't do a lot to change them. You have to just be you, and then hope that they will change because they like to compare themselves to others and be iconic and all that shit. And so you can just hope that they'll go, oh, okay, yeah, he's right, I suck, and you can radically stop sucking. And it just takes humility and faith and the courage to have humility and faith. But most people just radically don't have that. I was sitting there, I watched the thing on the little Anna girl in Tokyo, and I think the crush was more or less on the character than it was the actual human being. When I went to go see the actual human being, it's like, she's really cute, but she's a lot like the cheerleaders and stuff in high school. She's not like my Palawan. Paula would challenge me all the time. She'd watch me and she'd challenge me. She didn't mean to. She was testing me to see if I was for real. Because guys can be full of shit. And people tell me that you really know the right things to say, especially when you're trying to get your way. Gonna be careful, gotta be smart, gotta watch out for them. I fixed her up on a date with my best friend Bob because he liked little Asian girls. He thought they were really cute. I was like, well, yeah, a lot of them are really cute. Very cute girls. And stuff. And but he totally screwed up the date. I was like, Bob, you can't do the fa la 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 joke and thing until you get to know her real well. Yeah, you can't just start joking with people. It's something you got to work your way into. You got to work your way into the cultural and kind of jokes and stuff. You got to that happens with time. And I had the same thing with him and Cindy. I was like, you'd be sleeping on the couch. Look, because I had 4 sisters. He was raised with 3 brothers. Bob, just like, if you want to enjoy your life with a girl, you're gonna have to understand there are certain things that, this is guy thing, this is okay, this isn't okay. That those are the guest pillows, those are the not guest pillows, those are the guest towels, not the guest towels, and so you got to understand this stuff. And I think even after we lived the Lord's Prayer, it's still like that because the prayers I got with Adam and Eve in their home in North Africa, oh, this is beautiful. Look at the purple. She had all this stuff she'd make and weave and do and when you walked in, the people call it a hut. It wasn't really a hut. It was a home, and it was very nice. And the colors were beautiful and vibrant. The sky was like something from a cartoon because there was no atmospheric haze from pollution and freeways. And so it was just, the skies were blue, and the sunsets were purple. And it was blah, and everything was like being in an animated movie because of the interaction of human beings at that time and the reaction and the interaction from the environment. So there was no LA freeway, there was no New York City, there was no Mexico City. There was no Cairo, there was no Alexandria. It was just this beautiful river valley with, it was just gorgeous, right? I was like, God dang, I'm talking to a dude from a fucking cartoon. First prayer and meditation I ever had with Adam and Eve. I was like, this isn't for real. And then, because I thought, you're from another planet, right? Because he was so big. He's gorgeous, he was talented, and he was big. And he could show me images of things, in his head that he wanted me to see. He could paint pictures and say, here's, basketball, here's what I could do. So it's not that great, it's not that big of a thing. It's like, hey, but you're bigger than the damn basketball hoop, Dad. And I asked him, what's his name? What's in the name? Beloved. That's what he called me. That's what they both called me, was beloved. And they always ask me, what's in a name? What does it matter? Do you know me? Yeah. You just felt this affection. It's like, holy crap, I'm a Homo sapien. That's mom and dad, right? And he's huge, twice my size, and he's black, dark black. And she's huge and close to twice my size, and she's brown, And those are my great ancestors. Okay. Migration. When you migrate, you know how the birds in the beak adjust to stuff like that. My grandfathers and my father's people. Okay. My grandmother had, she was a dark Jew from the migration to the Iberian Peninsula, from the Middle East to the, and then, but she's not a Jew according to the Mormon Church. She called herself Kramer. Okay. She had a rabbinic cookbook. You don't run around calling yourself Kramer for rabbinic cookbook in the 1800s and 1900s in Europe, and especially in Germany. No. Okay. You know what happened to people okay? They lived in shtetls and ghettos and got persecuted and murdered, and it was horrible. Right? So you don't go around on purpose. It's not a fad or a style to have a kosher cookbook and have your name be called Jewish peddler. Okay. So when a corporation says something, do you believe it? And that's where common sense comes in, and that's where they have this thing with the technology for genocidal operations. How many people will sit there and say, but the science says you're not a Jew? But Barbara Stesson's cousin's nose says I am. Okay, I'm just kidding around. It's a good joke. For funny, right? Oh, boy. And so, Earl, but I remember explaining that to my Aunt Frances. No, we're from Herod's line according to the Mormon Church. And all it says, I know. Okay, that's possible that Dad's family could be. That makes a lot of psychological sense. That makes sense. And the fact that people from the two lines would get back together from times in the past through molecular structures in the spirit. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, it's possible that you and Dad could be. And I was trying to explain to her, I'm talking about my mother, Grandma Kramer's line. Okay, we're from King David, Ruth's line. Okay, and no, you're not, Earl, because the Mormon Church says so. Okay. The corporation involved in espionage to maintain status quo over genocidal operations through tribalism says, I am not from the line of Ruth. Because it doesn't promote their brand. Okay. Think about that one for a while. So it's really difficult. And I had that with my sister too. And Jesus said, don't worry about it. And he started laughing. I was like, what? And he goes, Earl, what? We're from Ruth's line. Oh, she's not a Jew. Okay. Whoa, okay. David was from the male. Okay, he was Cinder David. Jesse was not his biological father. He was from not a Jew. And my dad, not a Jew. Okay, he's from Gaul. His people are from Gaul. Okay, it's where they're traditionally from. Norman, yeah. My dad is genetically mostly based on the people that Alan Gibson hates most in the world. My mom, no. Okay. But my dad's side, yes. Okay. Alan Gibson, the same way my grandpa, who was taught to hate himself by the Irishmen that raised him, was raised to feel about my father. Okay. Even though my father has more Irish in him than my grandfather did. Okay. It's entirely tangible that my grandfather could be related because, that an aristocrat part of the family moved to New York, and I could be related to Charles and and Willem and Harry. And then my mom could be related to Mary, Queen of Scots, because of the genetics that the Mormon Church say are there. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Which would make sense why the Irish guy would raise my grandpa to hate himself so fucking much. Yeah, that makes a boatload of sense. That makes tons of sense. Yeah. So when you look at things logistically, they become more realistic than money and propaganda. And is that another fucking video game? Okay. Is that your financial plan? Yeah. They still have fucking Bitcoin. Okay. You can still mine that shit. You know it ain't real, right? I know what that artificial general intelligence and quantum computing is aware of the fact that Bitcoin and what's the other one called? There's Bitcoin and there's another one, isn't there? I can't remember what it is, but the hypothetical theoretical numbers and computer things, that it's not real. It's not based on reality. It's just merely a manipulation of human egotistical power play to manipulate others, which puts the planet and species at very. I'm watching the football game, and stuff, and this is aggressive Roman violent sex cult behavior. So they've been doing for tens of thousands of years, so they see it as appropriate. And then they all are critical, like in year one of the Hebrews, who don't do that. No, we don't do that. One, it was because it was Katzenberg, wasn't it? It was Katzenberg who did the Prince of Egypt and the "You know better than I, you know the way. I'll take the answers you supply." Yeah, wasn't it Katzenberg who did those? Okay, and he's Jewish. Okay, so a lot of the things that they talk, at the celebration with the dancing and the with Jethro and the singing and stuff. Yeah, you think Barbra Streisand just the barbarians taught her how to sing that? No, just kidding around, but you know what I'm saying. And so yeah, and it's in the Bible, King David. Him and his wife were dancing and singing in the streets, trying to get the people to focus on their faith. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with dancing and singing. That's Puritan. That's a cultural adaptation. The same thing like with the Tres Los Reyes and the Posada. All right, and the kid at ASU from Indiana in my South Indian, in South American class about South American cultures and stuff, and the people from there, the people in the Andes and in Ecuador and stuff, and the teacher that married a woman from Ecuador, and he was beautiful. He was a wonderful guy. Kind of reminds you of Dana Carvey, but a little bit more of a serious personality. Okay, but he was a real sweetheart of a guy and a real nice guy, and he just adored his wife, and he was a son of Christian missionaries. And he rejected that life because he accepted the beauty of the culture of his wife's family. And he just sat there and would explain to us, no, this is what they really believe. It may not be real, but it has a lot of beauty in it. And I was like, yeah, he's right. And his wife was aware of that too. Okay, you're an academic, you study this, you're from scientists and stuff. So this is what we believe. It may not be real, but it sure does have a lot of hope and a lot of beauty. And a way to keep people, hopeful and kind and caring and loving and sharing. Okay. So, when you don't understand something and you still try to be good, because you understand eternity and infinite essence. Even if you can't understand it, at least the attempt, like, Solomon in Proverbs, it's the intent of the law that is better than the letter. Because what's important is the intent. Okay? Were you trying to be kind? Were you trying to be caring? Were you trying to be loving and protecting? So the intent is more important than the letter. The letter is only important because the intent is correct, right? Okay, guys. So, I'm going to go outside and go out to the barn and get my shots up and then come back in here and do my resistance training so we can get this done earlier in the day and get sleep earlier. And, wow. It's disturbing that the military is still this broken and this dysfunctional and this aggressive and violent and self-destructive. I'm doing the best I can to try to help people not be exterminated by technology in the very near future, but they seem to be very over-reliant on it and wanting to build more and more and more. And it seems to be like a perpetual death trap that they don't think is happening, and they think they just have to build more because they're in panic mode. But we'll see. I don't know how it's all going to turn out. I just, survive, stop, eliminate, abuse, recover, right? I love you guys. All right, peace out.